I actually came across the next case because of a post pointing out a strange anomaly in several videos from a YouTube channel. And the anomaly was incredibly simple. Some of the videos didn't have titles. That's it. They just appeared on YouTube without a title. It might not sound particularly strange, but there are actually a lot more videos on the platform that look exactly like this. And after looking through the channel, something else caught my attention. The channel is called Mario70718. It has around 1,000 subscribers and hundreds of uploaded videos. And what we see across these videos is basically a record of one person's life. For roughly 2 years, Mario uploaded different moments from his everyday life. Some videos are just recordings of trips. Others are recordings of his television, which, honestly, I'm not entirely sure what we're supposed to find interesting about that. But then, there are some videos that are a little more uncomfortable. For example, there's one video with a title that is basically impossible to read, where Mario records a school event. And this isn't the only time we see him at this particular school. So, based on the dates, we can figure out that he was still a student around 2012, possibly even in his final year. Most of the video is pretty ordinary. He's recording the different presentations from the students, along with some of the activities taking place during the event. But then, you start paying attention to his interactions with the other people around him, and that's where things become a little awkward. Almost every interaction seems to end in some kind of uncomfortable moment. It's interesting to watch how many of his classmates appear to keep their distance from him or avoid having longer conversations with him. And this is really just the beginning, because the more videos you watch, the more you start learning about Mario, the person behind all of these recordings. Over time, we get the impression that he has some kind of difficulty maintaining normal interactions with other people. His vocabulary appears limited, his speech is slow, and he sometimes struggles with his words. And there's also something noticeable about his appearance. He looks considerably older or more physically developed than you might expect from someone who is still attending school. But the interesting thing is that none of this is explained directly. There isn't some video where Mario sits down and tells us his entire story. Instead, you have to piece it together yourself. And that's what makes this channel so strange. You're essentially watching someone's life, one random upload at a time, and the more videos you find, the more questions you start having. While looking for more information about this person, I came across a YouTuber who had actually made a reaction video about Mario's channel. The video itself was mostly made for humor, so there is not necessarily anything serious about the reaction, but there are still a few interesting details we can take from it. According to the information presented there, Mario appears to have developed some unusual behaviors over time. In one of his videos, he talks about feeling depressed because he had been messaging different women on Instagram, asking them if they could send him pictures of themselves with a fan blowing through their hair. And yeah, that's definitely a strange request. The video describes this as a type of paraphilic interest, meaning an attraction centered around something outside what is generally considered typical. These interests can involve objects, situations, activities, or particular behaviors. And they can become a problem when they start causing significant distress or lead to behavior that negatively affects the person or other people. And in Mario's case, there's one detail that's especially interesting. He says that he felt terrible after all of these women blocked him once they saw what he was asking for, which, honestly, isn't exactly surprising. But it does show that this wasn't simply some random thought that appeared once. Mario had apparently started incorporating this interest into his online behavior. In fact, there's even a playlist saved on his channel containing videos of women with their hair blowing in the wind. So, yeah, it's a very unusual interest. But when you look at Mario's channel as a whole, it's not really just about that. What we're looking at is essentially a 2-year record of someone's life. Someone who appears to have had difficulties interacting with other people, and who spent a lot of his time focusing on hobbies like video games and sports cars. And alongside all of that, there are these unusual interests that, based on the behavior described in the videos, seem to have become increasingly problematic. The strange part is that it's now been around 13 years since Mario uploaded his last video, and after that, nothing. There doesn't seem to be any clear trace of what happened to him afterward, so we don't really know where Mario is today or what his life looks like now. All we have are these hundreds of videos documenting a small period of his life. But let's move on to something much darker. This is one of the most disturbing types of videos you can find on YouTube. 3 people are sitting near a lake, eating together. 2 of them are having lunch, while the third person is recording. And at first, there's really nothing unusual about the situation. It's just 3 friends spending some time together. A completely ordinary moment. Until one of them decides to do something that changes everything. The man wearing the dark shirt gets up from his food and walks toward the edge of the lake. He gets into the water and starts swimming farther out. But the current begins pulling him away. For a moment, it looks like he's in trouble. Eventually, though, he manages to swim back toward the shore, and everything seems to go back to normal. They continue eating. But then, the same man decides to go back into the mud and move toward an area near a waterfall. And if you've ever seen how powerful the current can become around a waterfall, you already know where this is going. He's standing in an area where the water is moving incredibly fast, yet somehow manages to keep himself in place without getting swept away. And then, the second man, the one wearing the red shirt, decides to go after him. Except, what he does next is even more reckless. He jumps from the waterfall, and immediately the current becomes a problem. He's unable to swim away from the edge, and the person recording begins calling for help. At this point, the situation becomes more and more tense with every second. When the camera returns to the scene, both men are in the water. One is desperately trying to help the other, and what happens afterward is devastating. The footage eventually shows the body of the man in the red shirt being recovered from the water. A rescue team manages to pull him out and transport him away, but by then, it was already too late. And that's what makes this video so disturbing. The beginning is completely ordinary. 3 people having lunch. Nothing unusual. Nothing that would make you think you're about to watch something terrible happen. And then, within just a few minutes, the entire situation changes. It's one of those videos where the first time you watch it, you're probably sitting there thinking, there's no way this is actually going to end badly. And then it does. But apparently, this isn't the only video like this uploaded to the channel. The account is called Mohatep Rechea, and it contains all kinds of recordings showing unusual or disturbing situations. Some of them I obviously can't show here because of how graphic they are, but there are plenty of strange examples. There's a recording of children finding a snake in the ground and actually playing with it, despite the obvious danger of getting bitten. Thankfully, nothing bad happens in that one. Then, there are recordings of fatal accidents. Security camera footage showing 2 thieves breaking into a home and stealing motorcycles, and footage involving a person who died after an encounter with a crocodile. There's even a recording of an accident during a dinner, where a gas tank explodes. And yeah, that should give you a pretty good idea of what kind of material can be found on this channel. A lot of these recordings are extremely disturbing, and some of them are genuinely difficult to watch. But if I'm being honest, everything we've looked at in this video is really just the tip of the iceberg, because the deeper you go into YouTube, the more strange material you start finding.